Now to story number 8, the witch hunt. Well, they tried and they failed in yet another state. On Friday, the Colorado judge overseeing the lawsuit to remove President Trump's name from the 2024 ballot rejected the challenge and ordered that Trump's name be allowed on there. That's one win in the never-ending political witch hunt of President Trump. And now, while Trump lost his bid for a mistrial in the tainted fraud case right here in New York City, despite the judge's clear and overwhelming bias, on Wednesday, an appeals court temporarily lifted the gag order in that case. Joining me now to discuss in our panel is constitutional law attorney Amir Benno. Also with us, Thane Rosenbaum, distinguished university professor at Touro University. Gentlemen, thank you so much for being with us.
Great to be here.
Thank you.
Amir, I'll start with you first. Time and time again, we have seen the blatant political bias shown by Justice Engoron in the New York City fraud case. For him to say that the request for a mistrial is, quote, utterly without merit, I mean, to anyone who has been keeping up with this case, it's absolutely ridiculous.
Well, it is ridiculous, but it's not surprising, Lydia. I mean, he would essentially, remember, this isn't a jury trial, it's a bench trial. So he would have to say, yes, I've been very biased in this case, and therefore I'm going to throw out this whole trial and we'll start from scratch, which he's never going to do. So Donald Trump knows this, of course, and he submitted his brief to make a record on appeal. And in that brief, he raised several different arguments. One, he said that the judge was engaging in sort of extrajudicial, outside of the court activities, where he's talking about this case on social media. He's sitting there with his clerk co-judging a case, which violates the canons of judicial ethics. He, of course, as you mentioned, imposed 2 different gag orders, which were deemed to be, at least temporarily, unconstitutional restraints on political speech. And then throughout this trial, he has evidenced a demonstrable bias against Donald Trump and in favor of the attorney general. So they made their record. They'll take it up on appeal. But it came as no surprise that the court would deny that mistrial motion.
Right. And Thane, the mistrial brief also pointed out that the unconstitutional gag order placed on Trump by this judge, that gag order has now been temporarily lifted by an appeals court judge, citing constitutional concerns of restricting Trump's free speech. But again, this is a bench trial, and this guy's not going to turn around and he'll decide in Trump's favor, because then he'll admit that he's doing something wrong. So my concern here is, what will happen after this? Like, will it be overturned on appeal? Because we've seen now that the gag order has been lifted.
Well, you know, as usual, I agree with Amir. I mean, most of what we're seeing here is preserving the record for an appeal. Lydia, you know, I've been on your shows now for many, many months, and I have said all of these cases are legally flawed. All of them. There are significant flaws in each one of the cases in all of these jurisdictions in both state and federal court. But I actually do think that it's possible that Donald Trump could be found guilty in all of them and liable in the New York civil case, and that they could be overturned on appeal. I think that the preserving the record and the issues on appeal, in my view, they favor Donald Trump. And although he may not appear to have the upper hand here, he might in even an appellate court, forget the Supreme Court, just the next appellate court. I think that he's got strong issues for appeal.
I agree with you, because I feel like he can't get a fair trial with this guy, and then hopefully it would be overturned in the appellate division. Amir, the fraud case isn't Trump's only legal battle right now. Last night, a Colorado court ruled the former president will be allowed on the state's ballot for 2024. That one is just one of at least 31 suits filed across the country that are arguing that Trump should be disqualified, citing the 14th Amendment, all hinging on the Trump committing insurrection. Meanwhile, Trump's never been charged with an insurrection. So is this all just a waste of time and money? Why even do something like this?
Well, when you can't win on the merits, you try to game the system and move the goalposts in order to try to get your victory. And that's what they're doing here. And this isn't just Colorado, it's Minnesota, it's Michigan. Same challenges have been brought. They've been struck down on 3 different grounds so far. One, it said that the state officials, the Secretary of State doesn't have standing to bring this lawsuit. Another state said it doesn't apply to primaries, the 14th Amendment. It applies to general elections. And then the last one in Colorado, interestingly found that Donald Trump did, in fact, did lead an insurrection, but incite an insurrection, but found that the 14th Amendment doesn't cover the president. So it says you could bounce somebody off the ballot if you're a representative or a senator or an elector for the president or the vice president, but not if you're running for the office of the presidency yourself. And that is actually, that portion of the decision is legally sound and correct. And hopefully the other courts will follow suit.
And Thane, a minute left to you, your reaction.
Well, I think Amir is right, but what's really concerning here is, remember, Lydia, none of the other cases brought an incitement action against the president. Not one. Everyone thought the one in Washington, D.C. was going to be based on the incitement to an insurrection, but none of the others. So here you have a judge in Colorado, not D.C., a judge in Colorado, who makes an actual material fact finding that Donald Trump incited the insurrection. And, the Supreme Court precedent is very clear in this case. Donald Trump did not use the language, the words necessary under Brandenburg versus Ohio to be found to have lost his First Amendment protection in inciting a riot. So that's what, to me, is most disturbing about the Colorado case. This judge, out of left field, Hail Mary, said, I don't care what any of the other prosecutors did or any of the other judges, I say he incited this insurrection.
Unbelievable. Thank you both, Thane Rosenbaum and Amir Benno.
Hi, Lydia.
Well, we've been talking a lot about